The announcement just it landed like a bomb, didn't it?
Yeah.
A digital superstar, famous for internet chaos, taking that brand straight to Broadway.
Yeah, the most traditional kind of sacred stage in American theater. It was jarring.
The name Trisha Paytas everywhere. And the debate just ignited instantly. Was this genius marketing? Or,
Yeah.
I don't know, the end of artistic merit as we know it.
A bit dramatic, maybe, but yeah.
Welcome to Starscope Report. We're diving deep into this wild crossover, the huge digital attention economy meeting the Great White Way. Today, we're really going to dissect the strategy, the math behind probably the most talked about casting news of the year.
And look, we're not just here to talk about, like, a celebrity stunt.
Yeah.
This is a cultural moment, right? It's a high-stakes gamble that's making the entire theater world look at what influence even means today. We're answering that big question. What was the real reason Broadway took this risk on Trisha Paytas?
Okay, let's unpack it right away. Because the specifics here, the details of what made it so controversial. It's this weird paradox.
Yeah.
Tiny role, massive star.
Exactly. Let's nail down the facts. This was October 2025. Trisha Paytas gets cast in Beetlejuice, the musical. Now, the show itself was doing a limited 13-week run at the Palace Theater.
Right, and limited is the key word there.
Absolutely. Her part in it, even more limited, just 3 weeks, November 4th to November 23rd, 2025. That's it. And the role was Maxine Dean.
Maxine Dean. Okay, here's where it gets kind of wild. You've got this creator, an 18-year career online, something like 20 million followers across platforms, billions of views. I mean, a digital giant.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets put in a role that, professionally speaking, is, well, it's minor.
It's really unusual, highly anomalous. Maxine Dean is a small supporting part. She's the wife of the chairman, mainly in one big, chaotic dinner party scene. Not a lot of stage time, not much narrative weight.
Yeah. If the role's small and her fame is enormous, what were the producers actually buying?
They weren't buying a lead actress, that's for sure.
No.
They were buying the whole Trisha Paytas package. The persona, the audience, the phenomenon. The role was just the way in.
It was the vehicle. The asset was her and her following.
That's the strategy, plain and simple. And the way they structured it minimized the risk. See, she wasn't permanently replacing a main cast member or anything.
Right.
She took over just one part of what they call a dual role track.
Okay, maybe explain that quickly. A dual role track for folks who don't follow Broadway casting that closely.
Sure. So the actress already in the show, Sharon Saya, usually plays 2 different characters. What the producers did was carve out just one of those roles, Maxine Dean, for Paytas for those 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Sharon Saya steps right back into playing both characters the moment Paytas leaves. It keeps the main company stable.
That is kind of brilliant, actually. It protects the show, the artistic side, keeps the regular company running smoothly, but it lets them leverage this massive external promotion. They weren't hiring an actress to fill a slot.
Yep.
They were plugging in a marketing conduit for a 3-week, like a flash flood of ticket sales.
The structure basically proves it. It was an audience acquisition play dressed up as a theatrical debut. And importantly, this wasn't just some random idea. This was something Paytas had been aiming for years.
Okay, hang on. If you are fascinated by this stuff, the cold calculations behind fame, these kinds of Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed to Starscope Report. Because we're about to get into the digital side, the controversy, and the numbers that basically made this deal, well, almost inevitable.
Yeah, the data is key.
So let's talk about that, the business of bear it all. Why Paytas' history, her controversy, actually became currency here. You really have to look back at her whole 18-year online career.
Right, starting way back in 2007. She basically spent 2 decades figuring out how to dominate the digital attention economy. It's built on what she calls radical transparency, this super personal bear-it-all style.
Which often lands her in hot water.
Oh, definitely. Frequent, sometimes really intense controversy. Critics have jumped on lots of her public statements, called them polarizing. There's been sustained criticism over the years.
But wait a second. Isn't that kind of constant drama, the bad press? Isn't that usually seen as a liability if you want to move into something traditional like Broadway?
Traditionally, absolutely. But in the attention economy, controversy isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's fuel. Paytas herself has basically said this polarizing thing is a deliberate promotional strategy.
Huh.
Arguments, criticism, outrage. It all generates engagement, right? Clicks, comments, shares. It keeps you relevant, keeps people talking.
So the chaos is the brand. And the result of that strategy is this incredibly well-devoted and fiercely loyal fan base. They feel this really deep personal connection to her. And that loyalty, that community, That's what the producers wanted access to.
Precisely. And look, this wasn't just some random celeb they parachuted in. Paytas had been talking about this, wanting this for years. She openly said Broadway was the ultimate dream, called live theater an escape.
And she didn't just talk about it. She she put her money where her mouth was, right?
Yeah.
Performing musical numbers on YouTube.
Yeah, for years. Songs from Little Shop of Horrors, even from Beetlejuice itself. It was out there.
But the big one, the real proof, was that benefit concert.
Exactly. Early 2025, Trisha Paytas' big Broadway dream. That was the crucial precedent. And this wasn't just like a little YouTube thing. It was a proper professional production.
And it had big Broadway names involved, didn't it? Like Sutton Foster, Ben Platt. They participated. That's a pretty big nod from the industry itself.
A huge endorsement. That concert basically served as a live test run for the producers. It proved, without a doubt, that she could convert her massive digital following into actual butts in seats, physical ticket sales, for a big professional theater.
It took the risk out of it, financially speaking.
Completely de-risked her candidacy. The Beetlejuice producers, they were clearly watching that data. Once she proved she could sell tickets in that kind of Broadway-adjacent setting, well, the logic of this casting became pretty hard to argue with from a business perspective.
Which brings us to the math. The cold, hard numbers.
Right. Stunt casting 2.0. The data that made them say yes.
So first off, why Beetlejuice? Why was that show the perfect place for this kind of experiment?
Well, Beetlejuice is a survivor, isn't it? It had already come back to Broadway twice before this run, largely thanks to fan campaigns after a successful tour. It knows how to connect with a really mobilized, kind of campy, outsider-ish fan base.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And the whole vibe of the show, the outrageous humor, the gothic look, the campy over-the-top style, that fits Paytas' public persona perfectly. Plus, the story itself, the outsider finding their place, that really resonates with the community she's built.
And like we said, putting her in a small role for just 3 weeks keeps the artistic risk super low. Commercially, though, huge potential upside.
That's the stunt casting 2.0 logic. It's direct audience acquisition. They're surgically targeting a massive group of people, her followers, who probably have almost zero overlap with the typical Broadway audience. They're basically bypassing expensive traditional advertising.
And the numbers, I mean, the difference is just staggering. When you actually see the follower count side by side, the decision stops looking weird and starts looking like pure business.
Get this. The official Beetlejuice on Broadway TikTok account, around 350,000 followers. Which is respectable, pretty standard for a big show.
Okay, now compare that to Paytas.
10.9 million on TikTok, 5.15 million on her main YouTube channel.
So 350K versus basically 11 million on just one platform. That's not a gap, that's a different universe. It's orders of magnitude.
Exactly. The casting instantly flips a switch on this enormous direct-to-consumer marketing machine. Highly motivated, too. The commercial reward is that expected massive spike in ticket sales during her short run. It creates urgency. Her fans see going to the show as, supporting her personally on this huge milestone.
Okay, so commercially, it makes 100% sense. Data-driven, low-risk, high-reward on paper. But that brings us to the messy part, the reaction. How did the actual Broadway community, the actors, the pros react when this huge internet star took a job, even a small one?
Yeah, that's where it got really divisive.
We're at the Broadway referendum now. Meritocracy versus metrics.
The response was just split right down the middle. Polarized. For her, millions of fans, it was a massive win, a validation. They rushed to buy tickets. Going wasn't just seeing a show, it was this shared emotional thing supporting her dream.
But inside the industry, the traditional theater world,
Deep skepticism, a lot of concern, especially from actors, crew, critics. The main issue was meritocracy.
right?
People kept asking, why her? Why an internet personality with, let's be honest, limited professional stage credits over countless trained actors, many of whom are out of work, fighting for roles?
Yeah, I saw that comment going around everywhere that Broadway's apparently running out of actors. It was sarcastic, obviously. But it tapped into this real anxiety, didn't it?
Totally. An anxiety about prioritizing viral fame, follower counts over years of training, dedication, the actual craft of theater.
And here's the twist, right? The controversy itself becomes part of the marketing.
Absolutely. The passionate arguments online, the articles debating it, the defense of artistic purity versus the celebration of clicks and eyeballs. It all generates buzz, sustained news cycles. It proves that old saying, all publicity is good publicity, especially when your goal is attention.
So the big debate boils down to, is this a gateway drug for new audiences, or is it just a cynical ploy?
The optimistic take is, yeah, maybe this brings in a whole new generation, younger people, digitally native people who might discover live theater through her. If even a small fraction of her millions become lifelong theater fans, maybe the whole industry wins in the long run. She's like a bridge, a loud bridge maybe, but a bridge.
What the pessimistic view is, this is just a short-sighted cash grab. It compromises artistic standards, maybe,
Yeah.
and it sets a really dangerous precedent where casting directors start looking at follower counts before audition takes.
Where metrics matter more than merit.
Exactly.
And the future implications here are huge. If this 3-week run works financially and honestly, all signs pointed to it being a box office success for that window, it absolutely carves out a new pathway. Internet stars heading to Broadway. Social media clout could become just as valuable, maybe even more valuable, than traditional training or credits, at least in the eyes of producers focused purely on the bottom line.
It forces this legacy industry to deal with the new ways fame works, the new kinds of currency. Paytas' run was basically a live experiment, and the results, the verdict. It's going to shape whether future casting decisions are driven by spreadsheets or by auditions.
Whether they want to admit it or not, the industry has been changed by this. It's a different landscape now.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.